Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of OverVoice Season 3. Today I am joined by the lovely Hesham Elshazly. Hesham, would you like to introduce yourself, my friend?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, okay. I'm Hesham Elshazly. I am an Egyptian voice actor, a bilingual Arabic English voice actor. I have been in this industry, been taking classes since 2017. I've been working on and off since 2018. I'm a remote voice actor. I've done work for anime, video games, audio dramas, a little bit of commercial work, maybe one promo and I'm always striving to want to learn, to want to improve on my craft, and yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah,
Just a little extra context. Hesham and I, we actually met in a class like
yeah, it's
four
true.
years ago, and this was my first class ever, actually. Um, this is like a full circle moment, actually. So it's nice to have
Yeah,
you back on here again. I haven't
thanks.
spoke I haven't really spoken to like the other members of our class in a while. Especially, I think it's just you and another person. The others have kind of
Yeah,
gone radio
same.
silent. So it's
Yeah,
nice to speak to you again, man.
same here. Same here. It's always awesome to get in touch.
Hell yeah. My first question to you, Hisham, is, well, how'd you get into voice acting, and how's your journey been like so far?
Wow. Okay. I guess we'll go with the long version of that story. So,
Please do. Do
getting
not
into
worry.
yeah, getting into voiceover. It wasn't really my plan to begin with. Um, but I gotta get a bit of context. Me as an individual, if anybody ever hangs around me, specifically my close friends, I like to do sound effects or like to repeat lines from movies, from anime, from video games. I like to just say them out loud and perform them. I don't know. I just like to repeat it and do those sound effects. So back in 2010, when I was still in college in uni, one of my friends, he was a director of what they would call the school play. And I was just they were having these auditions for people applying, and I was like, I don't want to audition. He's like, no, you could just attend. I was like, okay, sure, I'll just attend and watch. Why not? So I attended, and while I was there sitting next to him, I was doing those sounds and stuff. So he's like, oh, that's a talent. His reaction was different than most people. It's not like, oh, dude, what are you doing? He was like, no, this is a talent. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? Is he crazy? Like it was like, huh? It's a talent. So that inspired me to think of it in a different light. I know voiceover is not about voices, but that's usually how a lot of people get introduced to it. So I started making my own videos. I started making my own dubs at home. I taught myself how to edit videos. I taught myself how to take scenes from movies, from different forms of media, whether it's anime, whether it's video games, and I tried to just mimic what I was watching. Um, and I started creating like hundreds of videos for like a year or two, and for many years I had no idea what I was doing. I was just practicing on my own and having fun with it. Um, then it's when in 2017 I took my first official class with Crispin Freeman. That's when I started to like, oh, it's not just one class and you know everything. No, it's not just voices. Oh, there's acting involved. You actually have to interpret a script. But it's also awesome to know that there's a field that's kind of connected one way or another to something that I have a very strong passion for, which is anime, which is gaming. The stories that I grew up with, storytelling medium, because since I was a kid back in 1993 or 4, I've always been a gamer. So it was that storytelling medium that I've always wanted to be like, oh, people do that and they're so good at it. Maybe I can do that too. And I know I can never actually enter a video game, but that's the closest thing I can ever do to being part of that world or part of those worlds is through voiceover. So I was like, I started to find out more and more that I'm finding myself as a voice actor, finding myself as a person through voiceover. It's like what you would call your upper calling or your true calling as a person. And yeah, I'll never go back. I love that I started this. Even after going through that, you start to learn that yeah, how much voiceover can be a grind, and it is.
Mm.
I'll be honest, guys. It's not a very merciful field when it comes to like all the yes, there are rejections. Yes, it can be tough, but as long as you love it and you remember to have fun and you remember to that why you're doing this, that's what keeps you going. Yeah, I hope I don't go off topic with the questions.
Nah, it's all good. Please do this. This eventually devolved into like open banter about everything, so don't even worry.
Awesome,
Um, but
awesome.
uh, yeah, I remember someone telling me a while ago that the voiceover industry is like a one-sided relationship, so you got to keep on simping,
Kind
and
of,
then eventually it'll take you back. So
yeah.
that's like the best way I can put it into
That's
words as an
actually very
analogy.
true.
If
That's very, very true. Very accurate.
I
Like,
think
note to
you
me, senpai.
exactly. But yeah, I think I don't know if you're still are you still teaching by the way? Because I remember you saying that you were
Yeah.
a teacher. Yeah, how's it
Oh yeah, I
going?
forgot. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, my full-time job is yeah, a school teacher. I teach world history to middle school and high school. I've been doing it for wow. I just finished 9 years, going on
Oh,
10 years. Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Hell yeah. So yeah, like how does like having students, do they know that you're a voice actor?
Uh, yeah. They eventually they started finding out. Like at first, I didn't really tell my students, but then over time, uh, yeah, and they do know. Yeah, middle school, high school, and sometimes they track down my Instagram. They're like, "Oh yeah, we found you," and then I'm like, "What is it?" They're like, "This." I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Sure, check it out. Why not?" So yeah,
Hell yeah.
it's kind of interesting sometimes to share it. And I guess I don't know. I guess for students, it's a strange thing for them to see. Like, number one, even before being a voice actor, they're like, oh, our teacher likes video games. Our teacher likes anime. And then they're like, oh, our teacher does this. That we don't see that every day. So I guess, I don't know, try to put myself in their shoes. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of an interesting thing. So,
Yeah, it's kind of nice that anime is a common thing that people watch nowadays, you know. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like you
More
won't
than
get
20, 30 years ago.
yeah, nah, you would get like bullied mercilessly, you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But like I'm so glad the times
I know.
have changed. Oh man.
Yep,
But
yep.
yeah, because you say you're from Egypt, right? So whereabouts are you from
Mm-hmm.
Egypt? Are you from Cairo or are you from somewhere else? I
Yep.
don't remember. Oh, you're from Cairo, yeah, the
Yeah,
capital.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, the
what?
capital.
Yeah, what's it like over there? I've never been to Egypt before.
Uh, it's hard to put in one word, of course, but how I like to put it, like every country, I would consider it a separate planet. That's the best description I can put
Interesting.
because
Yeah.
yeah, it really is different. Like I really felt that and remembered that when back in because I don't know if people know this, I used to live in the United States 24 years ago. Yeah, that's a long
Oh,
time ago.
I didn't know that
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, I used to live there for like 6, 7 years, and then I came back to Egypt, and I've been here ever since. But I did visit back in 2011 for like a few days, and I was like, okay, I understand this now because I visited as an adult. That yeah, it's like you're walking into a television, into a different world.
Mm.
So I think when you grow up in a certain environment, a certain culture, a certain way of thinking, then you go somewhere else. You're like, yeah, this is completely different. I know some cultures might be similar. Maybe it's not much of a culture shock, but I'm sure that a lot of people, if they come to Egypt, it'll be very different, and vice versa. If you live in Egypt your whole life and then go somewhere else, you're like, wow, this, huh? People think that way? People are that different? Yeah, I mean, so I don't know how to like summarize how it's like, but it's different in many ways, of course, how the educational system can be,
Yeah.
how what people aspire to do. Like I'll give you a small example. Like almost 98% of guys here watch football.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I'm actually a person I don't like watching football. So that's like strange to people here. They're like, "You're an Egyptian, you don't like football?" It's like blasphemy. So, so
And by
it's a
football, do you mean like
yeah,
like the like soccer football or
soccer. Yeah,
American? Okay, okay, good,
soccer. Yeah,
good. You're based.
soccer.
That's good.
Yeah, I need to be specific. Sorry. So yeah, it's very common, a very common sport. So that's like everybody watches it, and even with video games, like the definition of I'm gonna go play it on my PlayStation. Oh, I'm going to play football. That's how it's defined here, and
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm going to play an RPG. So I
Hell yeah.
think it's yeah, it's a different world. It's different how what people aspire to do, what people aim for. Like again, we're talking about voice acting. We do have voiceover, like the industry does exist here, and voice actors do exist. But again, when I meet people and I tell them about this, they're like, "What is that?" And I've had people that I met, they're like, "Wait, is that an actual job?" I'm like, "Yeah." They might think it's computer generated. All I'm like, "No, it's not. There are actual people behind whatever characters, or not just characters, like commercials you listen to, or announcements on an airplane, or so on, and things like that." So yeah, I know I didn't really answer your question
Nah,
when it
that
comes
you
to
now you
Egypt,
now you
but
answered my
yeah.
question pretty well actually.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
But
So
yeah,
yeah,
it sounds similar to New Zealand in a way because we don't like our voiceover community. It's it's kind of hard to like relate with them to like uh, a good extent because most of them are like a couple decades older than I am, because that's just how it is. Because there's more old people than young people in New Zealand. So in terms
Oh,
of
I
like
got
people
you.
who are my age doing voiceover, you don't really
Mhm.
find a lot. Like I've yet to find someone in New Zealand who's like does voice acting and is my age, you know. So
Oh,
like
really?
yeah, it's really weird. I mean, we are a very small country, so like when I do travel out
Hmm.
to other countries, it kind of does feel like I'm going to another planet because everything's guaranteed
Yeah.
to be bigger unless I'm going to like the Vatican
Ah,
City.
okay.
When in that case it'll be smaller. But like
So, okay, on rare occasions, yeah.
yeah, but I haven't been to the States yet. I'm hoping to travel next year, hopefully.
Ooh,
Yeah, it'll be
I
nice.
wish
I
you
was always
wish you luck.
okay. This is kind of cringe, but I used to always be afraid of going to America, and this for like
Oh,
the
really?
worst reason. Like you never would have thought, right? So as a kid, I ended up watching Batman Begins with my family, right? And
Okay.
you know at the start of the movie where Batman Bruce's like family gets shot up in the alleyway, right? For
Yeah.
some reason, I just thought that was America, and if I went to
That was
America, my
common.
parents my parents would get shot up in the alleyway.
Oh my God! It's like I'll become Batman. Like,
I'll become Batman. It's like, no, I don't want to be Batman.
oh my God.
But like I know obviously it's filmed, but like for some reason that kind of
Yeah.
held me back from going to America for a while. I'm like, and at this point, I'm like, I want to go to America. I want to go to Waffle House. I want to see all the fights. I want to go. I want to just look. I just want to go to America. I just want to experience it. I want to go to Outback Steakhouse. I want to go to everything as much as possible. I want to.
Nice.
I feel like it'll be really fun. So like, I don't know
Yeah.
whereabouts
Yeah.
I'll go.
Definitely.
I'll probably just end up going to LA and visiting friends. But yeah, I think it'll be really cool. But you lived there for 6 years, right? So what was that
Yeah.
like?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. My whole family had like we had moved there for a while. There's like the different like to pursue a different life, a different world. Um, Yeah, I think we. Where do we go? Yeah, we used to have a business on the beach for a while. Yeah, like with ice cream and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I attended school there, mostly elementary or primary. I know it's phrased differently in different countries. But then I came back for middle school and high school and everything else in Egypt. It was good. Like I think there was a lot of positives. That's how the like the experience with the U.S. was like. That's what made me speak English like this. Because a lot of people, if they just hear my voice, they're like, they would never guess that I'm from Egypt. That's one thing because we do not talk like this in Egypt. English is not a common language in Egypt. Um, so that was one thing. But yeah, the culture. I think a big part of my personality now, a big part of who I am, is because I live there. Uh, of like the way I think, the way I approach things. So yeah, it was nice. It was really nice, I guess, that I had the opportunity to live there for a while to get to know, to get to grow up with a completely different cultural background, and then come here with my Egyptian background. So it's like I like to call it a hybrid situation. I'm not Egyptian. I'm not American. I'm just my own thing.
Yeah,
So that's what the U.S. kind of did for me. And by the way, to comment on what you said about what the Batman and so on, it's not strange to me what you're saying because a lot of people in Egypt they don't know much about the U.S. and they would just think about what they see in the movies. When I tell
yeah.
them I visited New York, they're like, "Oh, how did you go there with all the gangs?" I'm like, "What gangs?" They're like, "Oh yeah, in
Exactly.
the movies with Scarface." I'm like, "Dude, that's a movie. It's not
It,
like that."
it's
So
it's weird. It's weird because Gotham isn't even America, so I'm like, it's just
yeah,
even more
pretty much,
confusing.
pretty much, yeah. So
It took me like
they're like,
so. It took me so long to realize, like, oh wait, Gotham's not real. What the hell?
yeah. So yeah, we don't know. I mean, come on, if you flip it on its head, Egypt until today, there are people that still think we live in the desert and we have the Sphinx and the pyramids. I've only been to the pyramids like 3 times. That's it. But we don't live in a desert. I mean, this is a booth inside a building. There's
Yeah,
cars. There's technology. So
yeah.
yeah, it's not like that.
I mean, the Sphinx and the pyramids are there, but like, it's not where everyone lives. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a monument. So.
Hell yeah. I wanted to ask because you're also bilingual. Um,
Hmm.
what's a because I think you might be the first person on this interview series who is actually bilingual in like voiceover. So like,
Oh.
I want to like get that sort of. I want to ask like, what's like that experience like? Because when you like say for example you're auditioning, right? You get like an
Hmm.
English script, and then you get a script in another language that you can do. So like,
Hmm.
what's like the jump from English to the other language you perform in?
That actually has happened to me before, where it was an audio drama, I think, where I booked a character that had both Arabic and English at the same time in the script. So it's actually really interesting when I have the opportunity to do that, because I've always been told that it's good to have when you have many languages. It kind of gives you an advantage that you expand on those different worlds. Uh, so being able to perform in two languages at the same time or separately, it's very different though. It's fun, it's interesting, and it's great to use that range. But it's yes, it's acting, it's still acting, but it I don't know, the nuances, the tonality, the approach to things. Arabic is a very different language than English. How we pronounce things, how we read things, the grammar. Like honestly, just this is just my personal opinion. I think grammar in Arabic is a pain in the ass compared to English. Um, excuse my French. So yeah, it's yeah, Arabic is a completely different language in how you read the script, and also something that I've kind of faced as a challenge. Like one time I was given a script, and somebody wrote it in Arabic, but some of the words were written in a completely different dialect from what I'm used to. Like it's not written in standard Arabic. Like for example, you have the like English, and then you have like what they call what you call it, Old English or Queen's English. So that's kind of like that. We have the common tongue, local dialect, and then there's just the standard Arabic that everybody should know or studied in school. But the script was written in, I think it was Kuwaiti dialect or something. I was able to manage, but I kind of said it my way, but they still were okay with it. But that's something you might face because not many people are familiar that there are differences in dialects. Or when I come and audition for something and they're looking for somebody with an Arabic accent, you can't just say Arabic accent or Arab accent because there's so many dialects and accents for Arabic. There's so many Arabic countries where we're Egypt, Yemen, Iraq, and we're very different from each other. Like I have a friend, you mentioned Hussein from Iraq. If he speaks Arabic, sometimes I have a hard time understanding him. Um, and yeah, don't worry, I told him that he's not gonna take it in the wrong way. Um, but yeah, it's just getting used to that dialect. You gotta be specific. Like, oh, are you looking for this dialect or looking for that? And even in Egypt, like I remember one time I was in the subway and I heard some people talking. I thought they were speaking French, and then I started listening, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not French. This is Arabic, but it's a completely different dialect from Upper Egypt. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know they're speaking Arabic. So yeah, it's about trying to be specific on like, oh, I speak this dialect. So even when I write something, oh, I can speak standard Arabic and I can speak Arabic, but local Cairo dialect. Because the way we speak in Cairo is a little different from Alexandria, is very different from a city called Tanta. Is like yeah, it's just very distinct. Kind of how when people say British English, and there's no such thing as just British English. There's so many parts
Yeah.
of England where you speak differently. So yeah, it's an interesting experience. I wish I could record more in Arabic because I've only done it just a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unique.
Because you mentioned that English isn't a common language in Egypt, so I'm guessing Arabic's like the
It's not.
main language over there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
Arabic is the main language. Like some people do know it, but they would only know like a few sentences. But even in schools or in university, if I talk to people the way I'm talking now, that would be very strange to them. They're like, "How are you Egyptian talking like this?" So, yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Um, and also I don't know if you guys have noticed on Hesham's shirt, there's Hawkab from The Journey. Really good movie by the way. So
Thank
I
you.
think you got to record that in, is it 2021, 2022? I don't remember.
2022. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So like,
when I. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say like that. Isn't that like that's like your anime debut, right?
Yeah, man. It's yeah. I'm always gonna cherish that till the end of my days, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. When I got to book the anime The Journey through Bang Zoom. Again, thank you guys. Shout out to Bang Zoom for that. I got to book that character. Like it's a bit of a long story. If you want me to share how I booked it or not, but yeah, it was really really awesome. I still go back from time to time and look at my scenes in that movie to believe that oh I'm in an anime, because that's a huge deal that I got to book that because I used to believe as a voice actor, I used to believe to even start voice acting that I have to travel outside of Egypt and I have to
Mm.
go to like Texas or LA or so on, and I'm like, "Oh, I can never do it here." But then I was like, "No, you can do certain things, like even if it's not just specifically for anime, but I mean in general. You can book as a start, book maybe indie games, book even some indie games are pretty huge, by the way, because that's like a, it doesn't mean indie game that it's a small game, but being able to book and do that, that's a big deal. Like I still remember when I got that email from Bang Zoom to audition, I was literally like half asleep and looking at my email, and then it said SAG AFTRA audition anime, and I
Ooh.
was like, what? So I just woke up and literally jumped out of bed. I was like, huh? What? And I told them, I'm like, are you sure I can audition? They're like, yeah. So,
Are you sure?
yeah, it's. I'm like, I'm in the other side of the world. And they're like, yeah, yeah, I mean, audition. So, great. You know, I actually the way when I auditioned for it, I auditioned, and then they had a callback audition like 2 3 weeks later,
Mm.
and then I did that, and then we had like a booth test to see the quality of my booth, and then we had a second booth test, and after all that, it was just radio silence for 3 months. So
Three
I was
months.
like,
Damn.
I didn't get it. I really thought I didn't get it. I was like, okay, it was worth a shot. It was a great great experience. And then I got an email out of nowhere from Mami Okada, the head director of Bang Zoom. She's like, "Oh, we're sorry for it took so long, but you've been chosen as Hauka." I was like, "What? Come
Yeah.
again?" So yeah, that was. It's just yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, and being with a lot of the people I look up to, Bryce Papenbrook,
Yeah, the
Christopher
cast
Sabat,
is
Johnny Young
incredible.
Bosch. Yeah, I'll be honest. I wish the movie got more attention in different parts of the world, but still, it's still pretty awesome to be a part of
Hell yeah.
such an amazing project. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And
So,
you voiced two characters in that, if I'm gonna say, maybe three? I don't remember. Is it how many
uh,
was a
yeah,
couple?
there was the main character Haukab, and then there were a lot of side characters. Like I did a character called Huzaima. He shows up if anybody saw the movie. There's this fireplace. He shows up and talks to Bryce Papenbrook's character. I voiced a character called Unmaram, who
Hmm.
was this guy with an afro. I still love that he has an afro. Um, who else? Let me remember. Oh yeah, there was the thug, the guy that has like this thing on his eye. Um, who else? Yeah, there was like 5 6 small characters
Hell yeah, that's
that I
quite a
did.
lot. For
Yeah,
your anime debut, you get like 5 6 characters. Pretty good.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that was actually thanks, man, thanks. That was actually a second separate session we had to do for those characters.
Hell yeah. But yeah. I think I remember mentioning this to Hussein a while ago.
Hmm.
Although it's a bit different for him, but for you, does that technically make
Hmm.
you the first Egyptian remote voice actor in anime?
That's a good question. Like, I don't know. Yeah, actually, I've thought about this before. Um, I don't know. Like, I mean, there are a lot of voice actors here that have been in animation, but anime, or at least specifically English dub anime, I mean, I guess, unless I hope somebody out there, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Maybe I am.
I'll fact check, but when we're done,
Yeah, so
just to make sure.
I have, yeah, I have looked this up, but either way, like, I'm honored to be one of the first, like, if that's the
Hell yeah,
case.
hell yeah, man. I actually
So,
remember. I remember you being a huge Dragon Ball fan. Is that still the case?
of course, man. Of course.
Hell
Dragon
yeah,
Ball is one of my top anime.
yeah. Rest in peace, Akira, man. Like, oh
Oh
my
man,
god, that
that
broke me,
that
man.
hit me. Yeah,
I
that
was
hit me
like,
hard.
I was like broke for like a week. Like that just took me out of it.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Yeah, man, Akira Toriyama, his work, Dragon Ball Z, that got me through so much. It's a big
Mm,
part of my personality. Like I've been through, and I've said this before on social media. I've been through hardships, and to get me through those hardships, I've really like internalized the idea of, oh, I believe in my inner Super Saiyan. I am a Super Saiyan in my own right, and like yeah, I don't know how to put it in words. To me, it's not just an anime. It's not just a show. It's the level of hype. I haven't seen anything on that level, but
yeah.
also the idea that when the characters, it's like they get destroyed, but then they come back stronger. That's something I've used in my life a lot. That
Mm,
life might hit you hard, but it's for a reason to make you get back up in order to learn from it, in order to come back a better version of yourself. And that's something I've learned from Akira Toriyama's work. This guy, I've never met him, but he has seriously influenced people's lives in so many
yeah.
positive ways. And it's crazy that we're all in different parts of the world and we're influenced that much. Like, yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is like one of my first animes that I like watched like religiously, and I still did. I still do actually. I still keep
Nice.
up to date. I still play the games and stuff.
Same,
Sparking
same.
Zero, I'm gonna play the shit out of when
Yes,
it
I
comes
was about
out.
to say I'm gonna play that. Yeah, I love it. I played Dragon Ball Z Kakarot as well. It's super
Yeah.
awesome
Oh,
game.
that's such a good game.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I really love his work. I remember like watching Dragon Ball Super when it came out because I remember going back to the cinemas for Battle of Gods and then Resurrection F.
Nice.
Then Dragon Ball Super came out, so I ended up watching that. And then when
Sweet.
Ultra Instincts, his first the
Ah,
first episode when
love
the
it.
Crunchyroll servers went down, it was like, oh shit,
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah,
get
they broke the internet. Yeah, I remember.
yeah, like
Remember.
that was like monumental. And then I watched it again in the dub when it came out a bit later. But
Same.
yeah, that like the dub did really well. Like honestly, like
Yeah,
like
the Sean Shamel is amazing.
I especially love the copy Vegeta Saga because they actually got Brian Drummond to
Uh,
play him from like the
yeah,
Ocean dub.
yeah, the original Vegeta. Yeah, I remember
Like that was
that.
that was really clever. I really appreciated that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it was a really good homage to the old one.
yeah. Um I think the manga's still going. I think they're on a break right now, but it's really weird how
Uh,
they're gonna pick up from there. But I'm still gonna read it anyway. But I don't know. I feel like it won't be the same. But like, I'll see what happens. Like they're doing Dragon Ball's doing pretty good right now, like games and stuff. But like,
yeah,
but
and
in
with
terms of
Dragon Ball
like,
Daima,
yeah, oh Daima, that's gonna be his final work. Is it out yet? I don't remember. I haven't seen it yet.
not yet, not yet.
Oh yeah. But and just in honor of Akira Toriyama's memory, what is your favorite Dragon Ball fight?
Oh wow, that's hard. That's a tough one.
There's so many to
But what?
pick.
It's a tough one. What I do remember distinctly, one of the fights that hyped me up the most was when Gohan was having the Kamehameha battle with Cell, and he defeated him. I was like, after that scene ended, I was like, yeah, this show. Am I allowed to swear? I mean,
Oh,
not really,
please
but
do. Go for it. This show
okay. So
this is not made
uh,
for
uh, uh,
kids. Go for it.
okay, okay. I was gonna say this show is the shit. Like, no, no, this is legit freaking awesome. Like, I'm gonna keep. I remember one day I've watched like over 30 episodes of Dragon Ball in just one sitting. I barely got up to like have breakfast and just continued. And it was like
Respect.
yeah. And then my parents are like, dude, get up and sleep. You need to sleep. I was like, okay. So yeah, it's really good. But I'm glad that you mentioned Ultra Instinct. Dragon Ball is one of the few shows that actually, not out of like sadness, no, but out of how badass it was, it brought me to tears. It was that
Hmm.
moment where Goku mastered the episode of Mastered Ultra Instinct when he first mastered it against Jiren. I don't know, man. That's just insane. I've watched that episode literally 10 times. Episode 129. I was like, ah, this is insane. This is something. I have a poster for Goku Ultra Instinct in my house. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I,
All
I,
right. I don't want to go on and on.
not so good. I think my favorite fight is from Dragon Ball Z. It's Super Vegito versus Buhan. Like that's always gonna be my favorite.
Oh,
Cause like
nice.
it's just how Vegito just mollywhops the shit out of him, even as like a fucking candy, you know. That just
The fighting candy. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Nice.
there's a lot of cool moments from there. But it's yeah, of course. I think my favorite fight from Super has got to be it's also I love Vegito, man. Like Vegeta versus Zamasu, like it was so short, but like
Oh yeah.
it's everything I
It
needed.
came back briefly. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I
I
remember
wish it was
watching
longer.
Dragon Ball Super Broly, like the premiere in New Zealand, and like the yeah, that's like one of my favorite moments because like the audience, the crowd, that it was full. The seats were all full. You got like
Oh
two
wow,
free
really?
cards for one with Gogeta, one with Broly, and like everyone got so hyped. It was amazing. It's like one of my favorite like movie moments. You know, like
Nice.
like Dragon Ball Super Broly, like watching that in cinemas a premiere. I saw it with a couple friends. It was oh man, it was great. Like
I I was actually the only person in theaters when that movie came out here in Egypt.
wait, really? Damn.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually surprised that they brought it here because they used to not bring anime movies here. I guess I don't know. The culture didn't reach here yet. It took a while, but then they brought it, and I was like, "Oh God, it's out in Egypt in theaters!" I was like freaking out. I couldn't believe it, so I just went. And before I walked in, there's a guy that usually like the with the tickets and everything. I told him, when did you guys start bringing anime movies? He's like, no, we always did that. To him, animation, everything's the same. He doesn't know anime
Ah, I
and
see.
like other movies like Kung Fu Panda. He thought it's all the same. I was like, no, this one's a little different. So then I was surprised after I watched the movie. He walked in and sat and watched with me. He was like, "What is this? This is peak fiction." I was like, "Yeah, it
Speaking
is."
you know,
So yeah,
that's a good response. But yeah, with that, this interview comes to a close. Hey Shem, thank you so much for coming on. It was lovely to see
thank you
you
so
again after
much.
all this time. Um,
Of
do
course.
you where can people find you, Hey Shem, like on social media and stuff? I'll link it all in the description.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Twitter, Silver Saiyan. You can find me on Instagram, Hisham Voiceovers. And recently, I just rejoined TikTok, Hesham Elshazly too.
Nice.
And yeah, but I'm most active on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heshan, for coming on. You've been a lovely guest, and
Thank you for having
we'll
me.
see. No worries, and we'll see you guys for the next interview. Bye, everybody.
All right, thanks. Bye.